Hey, Bayek, it's me, Ian. And in today's video, I'm going to look at this. This is Theatre of Blood from 1973. What a film. It's just an amazing, wonderful film which is loved by so many people, and I can see why. It's brilliant. The cast is in itself is amazing. It really is. This film runs for 104 minutes. It's not very long, 104 minutes, is it, really? No. And it just sails by, when you're watching it. You're so loving it so much. You don't want it to end, and it does. Rotten Tomatoes, 88%. Not surprising. It's got a lot of favourable reviews. It's interesting because the critics are very much the target of this film as well. But it is, well, it's a well-loved film. It's a comedy horror film, and that almost does it a disservice. It's just so well put together, and everything about it, I just love it, and that's why I decided to talk about it. And other people have asked me about it and doing it, so here I am doing it. The screenplay is by Anthony Greville Bell. The director is Douglas Hickox. Now, I was looking at what Douglas Hickox had actually done in terms of films. A lot of them, these kind of directors, also did a little TV work as well. But in films, notable is Entertaining Mr. Sloane from 1970, which is a Joe Orton adaptation and very well thought of in terms of British theatre plays that were transferred to the screen. Joe Orton was very much in vogue at this time as well. So that's his plot. And then I looked further. A Zulu Dawn, which is like I suppose you could almost say a very late follow-up to Zulu. That's from 1979, so Zulu Dawn. The cast we'll start to go through because it's an amazing cast. Obviously, it's headed by Vincent Price as Edward Lionheart. Vincent Price is a legend in terms of horror and the amount of films he was in. He was wonderful, such a wonderful actor, presence, his voice, everything. He made so many great films that you can just point out. One of my favourites is actually one of the more darker films of his, which is The Mask of the Red Death. And absolutely adore that film. That's from 1964. That I think I may even have reviewed that film. It's such a great film, but he did so many. You could just point through, and of course his very last appearance was in Edward Scissorhands as well, which is a great film. But anyhow, Vincent Price, he just makes this film. It's almost like a film that's been waiting for him to do. You think, yeah, I bet it would be interesting for him to do Shakespeare. Perfect. And that he gets the opportunity, so he takes it so well. It's just perfect. Yeah, Shakespeare. I love Shakespeare. And seeing somebody like Vincent Price doing this is great. Then, of course, for me, Diana Rigg, she plays his daughter, Edwina Lionheart, and Diana Rigg, I just can't say enough. And she's a Yorkshire lass. She was born in Doncaster. Hey, Bayek. So we're already onto a winner. Yes. Well, obviously the Avengers, 1965 to 1968, she appeared in it. She was fantastic. And then, of course, I loved her in the James Bond role on Her Majesty's Secret Service, 1969. And she carried right on, working right through, just doing so many great things in film and theatre and TV. She even appeared in Doctor Who. Yes, Doctor Who, the Crimson Horror from 2013. She was in Doctor Who, Matt Smith era. Fantastic. Oh, yeah. And then, of course, I never watched the Game of Thrones. I don't know, but it's extremely popular, the Game of Thrones. Apparently, she was in Game of Thrones as well. So there we are. And then finally, I have to mention this because it's, again, one of my all-time favourite films. She was in Last Night in Soho. That was her last performance from 2021. Amazing film, an amazing end to an amazing career. I can't talk about Diana Rigg enough. She was just fantastic. And here she is in this film. And she's great in this film. Wonderful. Then we've got another sort of one of those English actors that you just see and, well, I should say British actors, but he's one of those actors that you just see, as particularly in the 60s and 70s. His face is just so recognisable. It's Ian Hendry. He plays Peregrine Devlin. He was actually in the very early Avengers on a Blackman platform. I think it's about 1961, 62, that sort of era. He was also, I've just discovered this, a film that I'm hoping to investigate even more. He was in Polanski's debut, Repulsion, 1965, which I understand is getting some sort of re-release. It may even have already got that. And that stars Catherine Deneuve. But it's considered a real classic film. I didn't realise he was in that. He's in Get Carter. Get Carter, archetype British gangster film, and wonderful the way Michael Caine just has that role, and he is quite an important role in that. Ian Hendry. He was in Hammer, Captain Kronos, Vampire Hunter from 1974. Fantastic. And then a film I remember him in with Joan Collins, The Bitch, 1979. I think that's one of his last films before he died. Great career. And he's important in this film. And I love the way he portrays. He's just great against his disdain for the Edward Lionheart character, that Vincent Price plays. He's brilliant. I just love it. Then we've got Harry Andrews, who's another well-known British actor, going right back. He plays Trevor Dickman, and he was in The Hill, which is with Sean Connery, 1965, got another important British film. And he was also in Entertaining Mr. Sloane from 1970, the Joe Orton film, which I mentioned, was directed by this director of Theatre of Blood, Douglas Hickok. So he was in that as a connection there. He had another great career, did Harry Andrews. Then we've got another voice that you recognise straight away, Michael Hordern. What a career. Crikey, look through his career. Massive. Michael Hordern. He plays George Maxwell. He's right at the beginning of the film. I didn't realise he was in Where Eagles Dare. Now I do remember him in 1968. He was in comedy like Up Pompeii with Frankie Howerd, 1971 film. He was in a Hammer film. Yes, he was quite important in that. In Demons of the Mind, the 1972 Hammer film, which some people are not quite as keen on in terms of Hammer films. I think is really a good film. he was also in Watership Down as the narrator from 1978. Also, he was the voice of Paddington in those days as well in the 70s. Fantastic Paddington, the drawings and everything, and he's the voice of Paddington. I think he narrates that, and it's just great, fantastic. So that's Michael Hordern. What a presence he is. Then we've got Robert Morley again. This character he plays is always rather pompous, sort of English British gentleman, you know. He plays Meredith, and of course he has one of the infamous death scenes in this whole thing. All I'll say is the poodles. Yes, the poodles. He was in Cromwell, which was one of my favourite films, as you might know. Sometimes I keep popping up with. And it was in a musical. I can't believe this. A Song of Norway from 1970. But it was just amazing. You can't mistake Robert Morley when you see him. And then another interesting actress is Coral Brown. She plays Chloe Moon. She had an interesting filmography. She was in The Killing of Sister George, again, great classic 60s film, 1968. And in this film, on the set, she built a relationship up with Vincent Price, and they became man and wife. She became his third wife on this film set. Yes. And Dinah Reese said she introduced them together. She didn't know he was already married. Yes, there we are. Then if you look further down, some of the more actors that keep popping up, you got Arthur Lowe as Horace Sprout. Arthur Lowe, the wonderful Captain Mainwaring. Yeah, Captain Mainwaring of Dad's Army fame. Great TV series is in this film. Then you've got another interesting actor, Milo O'Shea, Irish actor. He plays Inspector Boot. I, of course, just see him in Barbarella, the wonderful Barbarella film in 1968, classic 60s film. He was also in Carry On Cab, which will be coming to maybe eventually, as you'll see in some of my reviews. Then there's another British comedian, Eric Sykes. He plays Sergeant Dog. And he, because he's linked with Hattie Jakes in the series that he did. He's in this film. And then there's another Hammer connection, Madeline Smith. She plays Rosemary. She was in Frankenstein and the Monster from Hell, last Frankenstein film, which I've reviewed coming up soon. 1974, that one was from. It was great. And even there's Dinah Dawes. I mean, what? You could just carry on. The whole cast in little small roles in this film is fantastic. So there we are in terms of the cast. The film, it was filmed entirely on location, and that really shows as well in it. One of the theatres was Putney Hippodrome, which was used quite extensively. We saw it. I think the other important thing, the location filming kind of adds a lot to it, I think, rather than just the studio. You just getting that look of that period, and it just shows so well. I think it's great to see a film like that just shot entirely on location, because you get used to so many of the studio films, and it's great. It's great to see. So what is the story about? It's about really a revenge story in a comedy way. Edward Lionheart, this great actor, he thinks he's great, and he is good. Always does Shakespeare all the time. He's basically getting his revenge against the critics, and he's faked his own death. And there's a lot of similarities actually with the Dr. Fives, the abominable Dr. Fives of 1971, which Vincent Price starred in. It's almost like a spoof of some of that, or even a homage, you could say. Um, yeah, so that the film then involves all these series of murders of these critics, and it's just a blast just watching it. It's great. As I say, I mentioned the infamous Poodle deaths with Robert Marley involved. Oh, yes, you just got to see that. But it's wonderful. It really is. It's a top blast, this film. You just sit there and enjoy it, and the way that Vincent Price almost camps it up is fantastic. He makes you want to watch Shakespeare plays. He does me, even more. When he's doing Julius Caesar, I think, oh, I love Julius Caesar, and he's everything he touches in this film, he just elevates it. And it's no wonder he actually said it was one of his favourite films that he'd made. I mean, that says it all. He really enjoyed it. And of course, he met his third wife, So this film must have had really good memories for him. And he must have absolutely, at some point, wanted to do Shakespeare. And it was an opportunity to do it in this way. I mean, yeah. I mean, how can you not refuse that? It's great. Oh, yeah, fantastic. Just a word about this disc. This is on Arrow Video. Very closer. Look at that cover. And then we've got the back. There's a lot of great extras on here that give you more insight into the film. And we've got here the disc. I'm going to turn it round. There it is. There's the disc. I haven't got the booklet, unfortunately, but anyhow, it doesn't matter. I've got all these extras on the disc, and they're fantastic. Really good insight, the interviews into this film, and particularly there's an interview with Vincent Price's daughter, which is fantastic. It really is a great insight into the man. I can't recommend that. This is still obviously available. And if you've not seen this film, why not? Surely you've seen it. It's a classic. Watch it. It just epitomises everything that the joy of watching films couldn't be more expressed than watching this. I mean, I love so many films, and this is one of them. So, highly recommended. And that's it. That's my review. If you're new here and just seeing this for the first time, please subscribe. Because then we'll let you know when I produce more of these videos. And if you like it, give it a like. Anybody just watching think, oh, yeah, I like that. I'll give it a like. So it helps with algorithms. So more people hopefully watch the films. That'd be great. Thank you. And if you've got any comments, just put the comments down and I'll always answer any comments. I just love this hearing from you. I do. It's fantastic. So, all I've got to say is, I'll see thee again.